I just want to explain this to you guys at once about this fishing woman in Norway. This fishing woman in Norway is trying to out-Trump me because I out-Trumped Mario Batali and Carter Oosterhouse because I was a Leelanau Conservancy, the second highest auction winner, or my event that I donated to the Leelanau Conservancy, generated by Morale Mushroom Hunt, was the second highest supported auction item, what it sold for, behind Mario Batali's dinners. Mario Batali is the international world famous chef. The fallout after Mario Batali's sexual harassment issues are how I also rose to a level above Carter Oosterhouse due to his issues that I don't even care about. This is just the reality of it, okay? So the woman in Norway is trying to out-Trump me by claiming that I was a stalker, okay? This is what happened between me and the woman in Norway. I've said this many times. I met her for 15 minutes and made a tile of her after she liked my pictures and agreed to meet me in her hometown. She also said things to me like when we were parting ways, she was talking about her genes and heredity, making me feel like she was interested in pursuing a relationship further than just me visiting once. I then went and contacted a local community organizing committee that helps grow small businesses. They supported my efforts to try to start a business in Norway. They directed me to the next step, the next rounds of action by going to the website for UDI and starting the process to get a residency. They advised me on which residency to take. This is called the Næringsgarden in Odda, or the business garden. I returned in March or in May on their request to look at buildings to start my business in. I did all of this. All the while, I was I was in communication with this fisherman woman, but very, very little communication. I didn't want to do anything to jeopardize the friendship because that was important to me. So there's very little communication at all there. Okay, so I then bought a building from two very prominent members of the community in Odda, Norway. I bought the building and spent the summer fixing it up. I ran into this fisherman woman twice while I was there. I wrote her some letters when I first got there because I thought I was going to be going back to the United States after I bought the building to prepare for the next steps. However, it turned out that I just stayed there. So when I first got to Norway, I wrote her 3 or 4 letters because I wanted to be very unconfrontational. I thought letters were a way that would something that isn't, and I wrote in the letters, I do not want you to respond to these. I gave her no pressure at all. There were fun little gifts in the letters, in the boxes. There was a Lego pack. There was a writing notepad. There was maybe a tile or something. Letters were written in English and half Norwegian. I was trying to practice Norwegian. Thought maybe she might respond. I wasn't sure what would happen necessarily, but maybe it was a way of keeping a friendship. I stopped writing the letters when I saw that the packages were being returned. So I don't even think she got the letters, except for the first one. There was maybe 5 letters that I wrote, and one of the letters I even had the lady at the hotel help me revise. I've then bumped into this woman once at the May 17th National Day in Norway, where she was selling hot dogs. She smiled at me and told me hot dog. We talked. It was friendly. I felt like everything was basically fine, other than the fact that I was there and I didn't feel like pressing any kind of relationship with her because I didn't know what was going to happen with my business that I was trying to build politically in the community and monetarily, understanding what I was going to have to do to get this building up and running. Lots of stuff I had to do, and I didn't have the residency yet in Norway. So what's the point of starting a relationship and getting involved in someone emotionally when you don't know if you're even going to be able to be there yet? Even though everyone in the community was very excited that I was there, the ones that were closely associated with me, the principal, the community leaders that sold the building, people that own the hardware stores, things of that nature. all of them very happy, excited that I was there. They told me that everything was going to work out. So one other time I bumped into this woman when I was jogging, smiled as I jogged by. Throughout the summer, I made tiles of many things. Some of the things, a few of the tiles that I made were of things that Jeanette had been doing, the fisherman woman, that day fishing. One of the things that people do is they'll notice that people are interacting with you on Instagram and social media, and they will be inspired by the fact that you're watching them, and they'll do things to try to encourage you to like kind of be more inspired by them. It's a way of simple communication. So some of the designs and artwork that I made were connected to her. I would say maybe roughly 20 tiles out of roughly 200. I also did tiles of many tiles of nature, wildflowers, fish. I love fishing, always have. So I spent the whole summer in Norway, and then I had to go back to the United States because then I got a tattoo. This tattoo right here says with the name of her business on it, or her Instagram page. I did that because because I wanted to show I was interested in her, and I thought that was a way. I didn't have any tattoos, and that was my way of showing more of a commitment to her and the community, to show the community that I had a different, more serious commitment towards her. Upon getting the tattoo, she then reported me to the police, saying that she wanted me to leave her alone. And the police called me, and they said that to leave her alone. The police also were thought it was kind of ridiculous and odd because they were kind of the police officer who called me kind of was laughing a little bit at it. She didn't take it seriously. Because there was nothing that I did. There was no evidence of me doing anything, and there was nothing that I did. And I was in Norway. I was in Trondheim, and I was like 8 hours away when this person called and reported me for this tattoo. Okay, so the whole thing seemed very ridiculous to this police officer, but of course I took it seriously. I didn't even know where this woman lived. She told me to deliver the tiles to this address in the wintertime, that she didn't even come. When I gave her the tiles, she didn't even come out to get the tiles. She had her son, this person that supposedly was her son, get the tiles. Later on, when I saw a picture of her son, I didn't recognize this person who got the tiles as even being her son. So I even questioned as to whether or not her son came out to pick up the tiles, and I gave her son a gift, a tile, when I was there, briefly. After that happened, I ended up everyone in Odda that was still supported me. Nothing really seemed much to change. I was under the impression that this was some kind of relationship building thing. It was so strange to me what had happened. The police officers said that if there was any other complaints by this fisherman woman, they were going to investigate. There was nothing to investigate. There was nothing that I did that was wrong. I was never told not to do anything by this woman. So there was this. It was like absolutely there was no. It was this woman blowing hot steam, or if there was something else funky going on with, I don't know, maybe this was a way to build our relationship. I don't know, in some abstract way. So I took it with a grain of salt. The people were still supported me in the community. In fact, businesses that knew about this woman and I and our possible interest in each other continued to support me, and even encouraged me to do things like do logos and decals for my car that included the artwork that I made of her on it. So I was given no reason to believe that this friendship was over with between me and this woman. Okay. This was in September. So September and October, I spent all this time in Norway, continuing to work on my building. The fisherman woman also blocked me from all of her pages except for one, which was very strange. Why wouldn't she block me? Why would she let me be on one page but not the rest? if I was some kind of problem. So so she let me be on one of her pages, so on social media. So again, I was given the reason to believe that she was still interested in me. This was a test to see as to whether or not I really liked her and could maintain myself in a stressful situation when what happened. So I was in Norway for September and October, and going through the residency process. And when the waiting to hear word from the organization that would give me the residency to stay, which would allow me to start the business. I never received word about this until late in October, at which time a letter came in Norwegian, and I read it over, and it was like the second time I was denied, or the third time I was denied. But there was a new argument I could make, and there was a new body of government that I could then try to make my argument with to stay and have the residency. I've spent lots of time gathering letters of recommendation, writing business plans, writing description of my business, going to the police stations, getting photos taken, getting the documents about my education. Lots and lots of stuff I did to get ready for this residency. They continued to deny it, and then once they denied me one time, I'd have to write a new business plan, because they said after 3 months you probably should have a new business plan. So I'd have to rewrite the business plan. Okay, so I was then talking and working with a business organization in Odda. A woman was working for this business organization who was a single mother. At the time, I think it seemed like that I was even concerned that she possibly had possibly liked me, maybe would like to, possibly didn't know why I didn't like her. I feel like the fisherman woman was also laughed at and made fun of. Many people did. When I told them why I was there, they kind of thought that I was ridiculous for having interest in this person. It hurt my feelings a little bit. I didn't change my feelings at the time because I believed in this fisherman woman, and what she was doing I thought was cool. So I didn't let these people bother me. But there were several people in the community that made fun of and laughed at this fisherman woman. But I stood up for her all the time after they did this. So this business garden, this woman who worked there, who was a single mother, I think she got to the point where she realized that I wasn't interested in her at all, and she was less friendly and less interested in working with me. So I don't think she made it clear to me that I had to go, because she really didn't care. When I say had to go, the letter gave a date in which I needed to leave, and then I could return in 3 months. And the process, and then they would decide while I'm gone whether or not I could have a residency there. And if I couldn't, then I'd have to reapply. So it wasn't the end of the world either way. But I did have to go according to the letter. But I didn't know that. I then decided to get an attorney, which she advised me the attorney to get. I got the attorney, showed her the letter. The attorney kind of mentioned, she briefly kind of talked about some date when I had to leave, but I didn't know that she was talking about that exactly. It was never made clear to me saying that you had to go by this date. I learned I learned different things about staying in Norway as a tourist when I talked to my attorney. I told her my story. I felt a good vibe from my attorney after I talked to her. I was told that she's good at this kind of thing. Well, she wrote letters to the UDI and the government, but never told me that I needed to leave by this date. Well, November 5th or 6th rolled around, and authorities came and they took me back and they told me that I was in Norway illegally because I had stayed too long. It was like 8 days that I'd stayed over the time in which I was supposed to leave, and I had to leave immediately, and they were escorting me out. So they were friendly but matter of fact about it all, and I left with them. Didn't got hardly any of my stuff from my house and just left. My building's there. Someone is taking care of it now, but I had to leave. During all of this, I went back to the United States, of course, and It was upsetting. I didn't feel like telling everyone in Odda what had happened because I thought that would be alarming, and I thought they would probably already know because there were people around when I was being led away that saw it happening, and word spread so quickly in the town. I knew they were going to know what happened, so I didn't feel like it needed to make any kind of announcement that would be alarming or anything because I just didn't think it was necessary. We wouldn't have been able to do that a few years ago without the internet, so why do it now? So. As the fall progressed and people were wondering when I was coming back to Norway, I think they also were thinking that I would be thinking that they would be thinking that I was going to be coming back in 3 months, which is what a tourist would normally do. And I was still under the tourist jurisdiction, basically in what they thought that's what I would be thinking. However, I know how fast words travels in a small town, and I know that they were going to know that I was escorted out because I'd stayed too long. And I couldn't come back for 2 years. And I think they all knew that. Most of them knew that. But they can't. But this is one of these things where no one can prove anything about who knows what. But you just know that they know that. I mean, I'm in that town for a week, and I had people crawling out of the woodwork showing me houses for sale because they knew I wanted to buy a building. So you're telling me when I had to leave, they weren't going to know that I'd left for different reasons? I don't buy it. So a little over 3 months after I was in the United States, a letter was written by the fisherman woman that was very weird. It was very kind of abstract, talking about how I wore the same hat as her, talking about how, how I stalked her. In a weird way, she says it all. Doesn't make any sense. According to, why can't I wear a hat that someone else wears? Fishing, trying to make a friend, going to Norway to try to make a friend was what I was doing. And she talked about how it was her worst summer, yada, yada, yada. The whole letter could have been looked at in a couple different ways. She never says my name in the letter. Anyways, politically, she's, whether she knew it or not, she's trying to, say that I stalked her or whatever. There's nothing to, there's nothing. I never stalked her. I had no desire to stalk her. It's just so the whole thing's a joke. And so my politics is not affected by anything that she wrote because there's nothing to any of it. There was nothing. I'm obviously not admitting anything because I didn't do anything alarming. I spent a bunch of money in her community, which she not acknowledges, and that's that basically. During all of this, I find out that other people are interested in me. I'm sick and tired of these games that are being played by this person, and the whole thing that's going on with me over there. It wasn't fair. They're screwing around with me. I'm not interested in her in a romantic way anymore whatsoever at all. I don't want anything to do with it because of all this crap that's had to happen. And if she was being directed by other people, then those are the people to blame. I don't know what else to say about it. But things have come to light in my life since then that I want to pursue over that. However, I do want to pursue my building in Norway, and my connection with Norway remains strong in my mind. So that's the story about all that happened, and how the politics of what the woman saying that I was a stalker, how there's no substance to that. There's no proof of that. The whole letter doesn't even suggest that. It's all a joke. It's all kind of. It's almost made possibly in a way to maybe exonerate me and to show how we suffered because of how everyone else was kind of treated us in a way in which was very unfair. Everyone trying to get things from me because I was there as an American, taking advantage of me and my kindness. That's probably more of what the letter was written for. However, the word stalker was used, and it really kind of screwed with people here in the United States, and that's that. So politically, I'm not affected. In the sense that, in a real sense, whereas other people are accused of things that they've done, and then they acknowledge that, yes, I did do that, I won't do it again. That's different. I'm not acknowledging it. It never happened with me. She made it up. She was trying to play on words. She was trying to be creative. Whatever you think you want to call it, that's what she was doing. but she wasn't actually accusing me. So that's how you can see it. Now, everyone's probably wondering, well, why don't you go back to her now? Why don't you feel bad for what happened? Because this shouldn't happen. This shouldn't go this way. Things shouldn't happen this way. There is no other communication between me and her at all whatsoever. No little notes. She doesn't give me any little hidden likes. She doesn't send me any secret messages. Nothing. Because she's too afraid that someone might find out. And then it would ruin what it is that's just ridiculous. I don't to see that level of fear makes me not even want to be. I don't want to touch it with a 10-foot stick, because that's just what I'm going to be surrounded by forever. Because people don't change. Rarely do they change when they're like that. So that's what I see. So I don't care about anything. I'm not angered. I'm nothing. I'm neutral to the whole to her. I feel like she lost out because she didn't because of people that were screwing around with her, or I don't know, but I don't have time for people to do that kind of thing with me, and when I'm throwing everything into my future, like I did with my interest in Norway and building in Odda, you just can't forget all of that stuff. So I don't know, that's just the way that it is. I can be friends with anybody, but as far as romantically interested in her, I can't do that. So that's just the way that it works.